It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And ladies and gentlemen, this past week, I went back to the great game. I went back to the Wilderness of Mirrors. I went back to Spy vs. Spy, the world of espionage. I went back to the CIA. I wasn't in Langley in Virginia just hanging out. Not really. But I did see the TV show. And I'm going to get into that first couple things. I want to give a big shout out to Fowlerville, Michigan. Got some plays in Fowlerville, Michigan this past week. Gracias, gratitude, Torba, and Fowlerville. I'm very aware of your town. Over the last 40-some years, I've heard about it numerous times. Now, unfortunately, I've not been there. Now, I know a lady, and she told me there's something particular that happens there, or you do there, or they have there, that I should be aware of, and I can't remember what it was. I have to go ahead and ask when I see her next week. But something very cool happens there. I just can't remember what it is. So thanks, Lisa. Appreciate you guys' gratitude. And additionally, this episode is brought to you by my new album called Welcome to the Great Game. It's me rapping my unique style over synthy, hip-hop, electronic type beats. I guarantee you never heard anything like it in your life. So if you want to hear my album called Welcome to the Great Game by me, I'll put it below. Now, a couple other things. In this album, me and the phenomenal rhyme artist unite on a track for the first time in like 10 years. I don't think we've been on a track together since the Indestructible Atom Smash. It's been too long, rhyme artist. I appreciate we finally got a chance to work together again. So if you want to hear this, me and rhyme artist did a phenomenal track. And also the album is kind of about like, life is kind of like a game. And there's ways that you can maneuver through it to enhance your life in a better space, better place if you make certain choices. So if you want to hear the album, like I said, put the link below. Check it out. Now, let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this past week, I saw the TV show called CIA on Paramount Plus. Watch the adventures of Bill and Colin doing the spy stuff. In this particular episode, they get an unexpected person offering information. There's a particular terminology they use for it. I can't remember the exact terminology right now. But anyways, generally a lot of times in these spy spaces, spy organizations, they have to go out and pitch and find them. Find them to get you to join their team, right? In this particular situation, someone just called up and said, hey, got some information. Let's make a deal. Got an offer, make an offer, right? And I guess that doesn't happen a whole lot. Now, after extensive reading about the subject, diving in movies, podcasts, books, nonfiction, fiction, when this particular thing happens, there's a lot of vetting that has to happen. Lots and lots of vetting. Now, on the show, it's short. They can't go into all that. But behind the scenes, I've heard there's tons of vetting to make sure this is, legit. Because sometimes what they'll do, these other organizations, they do what's called a dangle, right? They're going to throw somebody out there, come talk to you, to dangle, to lure you in, like fishing. So if a dangle out there say, hey, bro, I want to join your team. But really, they're a double agent, and they just try to get in there to, get access to you, maybe. So in this particular situation, kind of got to, vet them to make sure they're not a dangle. And so all these organizations do it. So like I've said in these podcasts many times before, it's like baseball, and they even said it in this TV series. There's different teams, different logos, different hats, but they pretty much all operate in similar fashion. Because the goal is to get access and to get information, knowledge, plan. So the heads of the states or organization can make better decisions. And so this particular episode, you see someone who offers their services and they, go down that rabbit hole of figuring all that out and get access to a human so they can make this person their asset. So they use this person to try to get access to someone that can give them information about something they're trying to achieve. They want to get an asset into this particular space circle. And this is what they do the whole episode. Now, what I really want to get to the episode is there's been a running arc storyline of they believe there's a mole in the CIA, and so Bill's side hustle, side job, rather than just working alongside Colin in the fusion cell, is to find this mole, to see what it is. And Bill in past episodes kind of suspected, well, maybe Colin is the mole. Visually it looks like maybe he could be because, he's got this chick. She works for this organization. He's going to the building. And so he thinks maybe he is. And so in this particular episode, he confronts him. Says, hey bro, I seen this and this. I think you may be the mole. And so I want to get into this particular. Okay, so when you observe certain things, we see documents, we see visual things, images, and we see conversations, and we see this, or this, or we hear this, or that. All these different elements of a situation. We in our brains try to piece together what is happening there. Now, Bill, with his, high-level investigation skills, being a FBI officer in this particular show, he believes, based on the information he's seen, the evidence, quotation mark, that Colin may be a mole, based on those particular elements of what's happening. Now, me, knowing the world of espionage, knowing those Samir's the way I know it, and to be clear, I don't know it that well, but I know it probably more than some people would know it, because I've gone down the rabbit hole of how they think and all these kind of things. I didn't really believe or buy that Colin is a mole or the mole. And to be clear, at the end of this episode, they didn't really, say one or the other. But I think he's trying to find the mole as well, personally. But based on the, information that Bill's seen with his way of thinking and solving, problems and cases, he believed that. Now, interestingly enough, this week, I heard a clip from an author who wrote a book that's came out recently that talks about this very thing of comparing law enforcement to, the CIA spy game. I already posted on my personal Facebook page, but I'll share on the Cap Talks podcast because it does align with what we're talking about here. So the way that the FBI and law enforcement works in general, it's very linear. It's very, very, very procedural. This is the way they operate, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is effective for solving crimes within communities and spaces, places. It's very necessary, right? It's very necessary to do these things, right? But within the world of espionage and spying, this high level, person that's been part of that world for so many years, he says a lot of times you can't tell from the beginning, the end. You don't even know what you're doing sometimes. I mean, the way he painted it is like just absolute like chaos and like there's no figuring out. And he was like, even if you're in it, you may not know what's going on, which is absolute madness. And to be honest with you, when I read these books and going down the world of this, I would say this is super true. Now, what's also interesting enough too is if I go ahead and connect this to hip hop and KRS-One, is that KRS-One says a lot of times in his lectures and his music that we really live more in a non-linear way than the linear. Now, I know it sounds absolute madness and absolute crazy, but I would say as living my life as a human being, it does seem more that way than procedural. And also too, I live the life of an artist, right? So I live an artist's life, so slightly different than maybe like, Bill, the FBI guy, right? And I would say that maybe that's maybe like a more unlocked, higher level of living or different. No, I would say higher, more expanded, maybe. I would say that maybe Bill is maybe still within the matrix, for lack of a better term, in the FBI in general, and then like the CIA's outside of that, for lack of a better term. Obviously, I'm not talking about the matrix to me, but like just say that they're in a system of rules that work well for that space, but these spy agencies and intelligence just work outside of that space, which is way different because the rules and the way they operate is so different. There's something about they're not. And to be honest with you, I'm just chewing on this idea live right now. I'm probably expand upon that. But this whole world of the espionage, spying, intelligence, CIA, FBI, all these things, it's a large, large world. And also, if you just compare it to anything else, anything, you talk about martial arts, you talk about hip hop, you talk about any set of beliefs or subject to study or whatever you're talking about, any lifestyle, there's always more to be learned in everything. You will never have the 100% clear picture of any discipline at all. They're too vast, too big for any one human to know all that. And even I heard something recently that said, I was listening to a lecture or something, says, you can't know everything going on in one space all the time. It's impossible for a human being. God can, but that's it. And so that being said, that because maybe the CIA and the whole spy world just has a bigger lens they have to look at versus these other places, is why maybe it is that way. I don't know, but it's a very interesting thing to travel down. Now, one additional thing, as you travel these spaces, make sure you don't lose yourself, to quote Eminem, because it's very easy to get lost inside the worldliness of marriage. I'm not even in that world, but just thinking about it. Sometimes, bro, woo. But anyways, this show, good show, pretty cool. I like it. I like when they go into these international spy type things. You talk to the people in these communities online and the real people. The show is not as real as some of the other things, but none of these shows really are. But they do add tidbits of real things as far as of scenarios and ways of doing things. That's more entertainment Hollywoodized, but they do have some grain of truth. So anyways, yeah, I like any time there's spying on TV or espionage stories at all. Doesn't matter. TV shows, movies, documentaries, books. I'm in. I want to see it all. To quote Star Trek, infinite diversity, infinite combinations. All spaces, places, and perspectives. I think the more you know, the more you learn, just the bigger perspective you have on it. And what it's the thing too, to get back to Bill talking about, Collins, is that even in your walking life, you're working a job, right? Or you're at school, or you're at college, or you're somewhere. And this goes way back to these sitcoms I watch on TV. So I'm going to take Three's Company, for example, right? In Three's Company, a lot of times these episodes, someone would walk in and they'd hear somebody say something, hear a conversation. You would see some things and then make these hypotheses of what's happening. They're totally off. In this particular episode, Bill essentially does that. Bill has this information that he's seen and heard, and he thinks that, Colin is the all. And I think next week we're going to find out he's totally wrong. Because he has a little bit of information, but it's the full picture. He makes an assessment, the hypothesis based on his skills of trading, and most likely is wrong. And that's what we all do. We take information and make judgments and hypotheses about things. And then one last thing. I feel that if you're constantly learning about the world, anything you can learn about, you can learn about the animal kingdom, you can learn about, government, you can learn about, arts, hip-hop, music, any kind of thing you learn about will add to your repertoire, your knowledge base. It can help you in all aspects of anything that comes up, problems, relations, whatever. I really thoroughly believe this. There's a good book called Range that talks about this, that the generalized way of knowledge versus a specialized does a lot of times beat or trump specialized training or knowledge. Do agree with that in my personal life, but I know you check it out. Let's see what you think. So anyways, CIA, good show. You should check it out. I enjoy it. But I love The World Spy. It's awesome. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, we'll see. Age withers only the outside. Anonymous. Till next time, get the peace.
The Captain Talks.